Gary, you've got about 2 minutes left. Scott did a superb job there. Let me just ask you to lay down a few precepts, principles from a purely biblical perspective right now of why we should defend life and why it's so critical.
Okay, Sam, let me just make a statement first, and that is the idea that life is a divine sovereign entity that no human being has the right to tamper with, particularly as it relates to abortion or any other type of death. And I say that based upon what the Word of God says. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, we are told that it is God who made human beings in his image, and he is the one who has breathed into us, as it were, the breath of life. In Psalm 139, verses 13 through 17, we've got great teaching there that shows us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made by God himself in the womb. And since God made us, we have no right to snuff out life. Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 17 simply says, "Thou shalt not kill." And we've already laid down the foundation that that's what abortion is. And then in Job chapter 12 and verse 10, Job says something that's very telling. He says, as he's speaking of God and the Lord, he says, "In whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind." And so you see, God is the creator of life. He's the sustainer of life. And anytime we, as human beings, jump in there and try to take life, we are on thin ice. In fact, let me just leave you with these three statements, Sam. To take life dishonors God. To take life sets oneself up as God, and that's not good. And to take life robs God of the purpose that he has for that life. Even though that life may be born in some deformed way or whatever the case, God has a purpose for that life, and he will be glorified through that life when it's allowed to live. So we need to recognize that God is the one who gives life, and we just need to leave it all in his hands.